2019 was the year that Vita production officially ended. And while that's disappointing, that doesn't mean it's the end of games coming to Vita. We aren't going to be getting hundreds of games next year, but for the hardcore Vita faithful, there are still dozens of games coming to Vita in 2020. And here are a selection of them to keep an eye on, including a couple not previously announced. Russian Subway Dogs. I feel like I've been waiting for this one for a long time, but the developers confirmed to me recently that it's coming. I played it at PSX a couple of years ago, and found it to be a lot of fun and totally crazy. Hopefully we won't be waiting too long. Battle Princess MADELYN. Battle Princess MADELYN came to consoles earlier in 2019. This 2D action game that's reminiscent of Ghosts and Goblins is still coming to Vita, and it looks a lot of fun. Project Sense: A Cyberpunk Ghost Story. I backed the Kickstarter for this point-and-click adventure game, pretty much based on the neon futuristic setting and graphical style. It'll be coming in 2020 with a physical release too from East Asia Soft. FOXYLAND 2. The trophies appeared a few weeks ago on PSN profiles. It's a sequel to FOXYLAND, which was published by Ratalaika Games in December 2019, and the sequel looks like a fun 2D platformer with great pixel graphics. Red Bow. Red Bow is also published by Ratalaika Games and developed by Stranger Games, the studio that released My Big Sister, also on Vita. Red Bow looks to have similar scares and creepiness, so if you like My Big Sister, then you'll likely want to keep an eye on this one coming in January to Vita. I know I'm going to butcher this title, so I'll just call it Prelude to the Fallen. I haven't played the other games in this series yet, although I've got them both. This is probably the biggest budget game coming to Vita in 2020, and it was a nice surprise when it was announced by NIS. It's a strategy RPG and it'll be out early in the year. MILO'S Quest. MILO'S Quest is a 2D top-down puzzle adventure about a dog, puzzles, and a lot of ghosts. It's made by the developer of Super Willow D-Make on Vita. Recently announced as Twinbreaker, a Sacred Symbols adventure. It's described as an accessible, replayable, story-driven brick-breaking game. It's coming out in Q1 2020, and I'm very curious to try this one out. East Asia Soft has two physical releases that they just announced today. Both are games published by Ratalaika, and the first is Metagal, which I reviewed earlier in 2019. It's a Mega Man clone, but a really good one. My biggest complaint with it was the trophies, which were way too easy. This has been fixed with a physical release, which I very much appreciate. East Asia Soft is also releasing Night In Plus physically for Vita. It's a top-down Zelda-like game that looks great, and impressively it's been developed by just one person. Now, 3 games not previously announced and all of them coming from Ratalaika Games. Rush Rover. Rush Rover is a 2D top-down retro-style shooter game. It includes random map generation, unique weapons, lots of different enemies, exciting boss battles, and a dynamic chiptune soundtrack. Based on the trailer, it looks pretty good. Thunderpaw. Thunderpaw is a pixel art platformer where you control a dog with a gun trying to save his family. It's got lots of enemies, a variety of weapons, and boss fights. Ultra Goodness 2. This is an action shooter where time moves only when you move. You play as a goddess that has to fight Satan's forces. It looks pretty challenging, and the time-stopping mechanic adds a tactical layer, kind of like Superhot in 2D. As I said, this is just some of the releases coming next year. There will also be games coming from the publishers Sometimes You and Lilymo Games. But the big shoutouts go to East Asiasoft and Ratalaika Games. East Asiasoft will continue to release physical games for Vita in 2020, and they've been publishing quite a few games recently digitally too. Ratalaika have published more games than any other publisher in the last 2 years for the Vita, and that will likely continue in 2020. I've seen the full list of all the games they're currently working on for Vita, and there's a lot more than I've shown you today. So please support these guys that are awesome enough to still be supporting the Vita. So guys, what Vita games are you looking forward to in 2020? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.